Members of the Sri Lankan Parliament have elected Ranil Wickremesinghe as the 8th executive president. In a vote that took place earlier, Wickremesinghe, a 6-time former Prime Minister, got 134 votes of 223.
I announce that in accordance with the Special Provisions Act of the 1981, Section 2, for the election of the President, Honourable Member of the Parliament, Ranil Wickremesinghe has been duly elected by Parliament by a simple majority as the 8th Executive President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka.
Wickremesinghe now faces the huge task of pulling Sri Lanka out of its economic turmoil. The country is effectively bankrupt. There is a shortage of food, fuel and everyday supplies. The financial crisis has sparked anger amongst Sri Lankans, who've been protesting, many of them, for over 100 days now.
The economy of the country today is in a very difficult place. Young men and women are asking for change in the system. There are many problems in the world and we must proceed without getting caught in them. To go forward, we need to come up with a new program. What the people are asking of us is not the old politics. The Parliament must unite in the face of these issues.
Well, Wickremesinghe is aiming to restore political stability in Sri Lanka and to quickly resume IMF bailout talks. But many people in the country aren't happy with his election. He's seen as someone loyal to the former president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and his family. Rajapaksa fled the country last week after huge protests and is currently in Singapore.
I think it's a sad day, though. It's a sad day not just for the people of this country but for whole of the world, I guess, because it seems that the entire world is sort of accepting this most unethical manner of leadership, because this is someone who did not win an election. He's someone who was rejected by the people's mandate, and then such a how ethical is it for someone like him, let alone lead a government, lead a country, be the head of a state?
Wickremesinghe has over 45 years of experience in politics and was the youngest cabinet minister at the age of 29. We are being joined now by our correspondent Dasuni Atauda, who is in Colombo. Dasuni, given that protesters had been calling for Wickremesinghe to go when he was Prime Minister, what do they now make of him being President?
Well, good evening, Ollie. Like you rightfully pointed out, protests have broken out in the central Colombo, and their demand again is very clear. They still see the newly elected president as a Rajapaksa loyalist, and they say that this new president is also partly to blame for Sri Lanka's worsening economic crisis, and that part of the problems also occurred during his tenure as Prime Minister. Keep in mind that Prime Minister Wickremesinghe, during his tenure as Prime Minister, Prime Minister Wickremesinghe was elected to that post 6 times and is now finally the president. So these protests that have broken out in the central capital of Colombo are still pretty much in their early stages and are just gathering momentum. So we will have to wait and see as to how strong these voices of protest and these voices of dissent will sort of grow into in the coming few days here in the country.
OK, Dasuni, and what about opposition politicians? What are they saying about what they're going to do next?
Well, in terms of the opposition, the leader of the JVP, the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, Anurakumar Dissanayake, who was also one of the candidates for this presidential election race, who only managed to garner just 3 votes, was seen saying that the result of this election certainly does not voice the intentions and the aspirations of the people. Because this election that happened today, Ollie, purely happened inside the parliament. For the first time in Sri Lanka's history, an executive president was elected via parliament only, where the people clearly did not have a say to elect their leader of the country. So it will be sort of interesting to see how this much awaited for all-party government will be formed, provided that for an all-party government to succeed, it will need the support of opposition parties as well.
Dasuni, thank you. And for more, we're being joined now by A. Jathindra, who's a political analyst based in Trincomalee in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for being with us. What chances does the new incoming president stand of achieving those aims of restoring economic and political stability?
Yeah, the many expect the chances of winning Ranil Wickremesinghe. Now he wins the presidential race, but but there are many challenges to him because he already the protesters opposed him. He should go. At the same time, he proved now he has a majority in parliament. So the constitutionally now he is a president. So everyone should support him to move forward. But at the same time, many believes he is a great intellectual and he has experience to handle the crisis situation, and also he has the pro-Western outlook. So this kind of capacity will help to him, will help to uplift the country economically and politically.
And those protesters and those opposition politicians as well, who actually want someone else to be in the office of president, what mechanisms do they have to try and achieve that, other than more protests on the streets of Sri Lanka?
Yes, the protesters are continually opposing him. But for me, I think, the protesters, they don't have any alternative agenda, because they opposed before they opposed the Rajapaksa clan, then they succeed to step down the president. So now they opposing the Ranil Wickremesinghe. Now he elected as a president, but the problem is they don't have any options to propose to the country, because the very interesting thing, the Anurakumara Dissanayake, the leader of JVP, he also one of the candidates to oppose Ranil Wickremesinghe. But the JVP is a left-oriented party. When the protesters came on street, and when the agitators started their protest against the ruling government, but at the time the JVP leader Anurakumara Dissanayake, he given strong support to the protesters, but now he got only 3 votes in the presidential race. So this is indicate very clearly that the protesters, if the protesters has any alternative option, they should support to the Anurakumara Dissanayake, but they didn't support. At the same time, they didn't give propose any alternative name. Okay, who is the relevant person to lead the country? But now they opposing Ranil Wickremesinghe. That if they oppose everyone, then how we will lead the country? That is the questions raised now. So, but at the same time, there is a challenge. That is true. There is a challenge to Ranil Wickremesinghe. He has to handle the protesters. At the same time, he has to uplift the country from the crisis.